Hello, Simon. Hello, Sophie. Thank you to everyone tuning in to watch this pre-recorded Q&A with the producer and writer of Top 3, Simon Österhof, and the director and illustrator, Sofie Edvardsson. It's a pleasure to have you both here today to talk to us about this wonderful film you made.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Thank you.
So just to start off, I would love to hear about, how you came up with the concept of Top 3, this list making idea. Where did it all start from?
That's a good question. I feel like everything happened in such a, where do you start? In what order did things happen? After a few years, it starts to blur a little bit. But we started with the script in 2014, so it's been a while now. It's been almost 6 years since we started, and we knew that we wanted to make we knew what kind of movie we wanted to make. We wanted to make something kind of fast and entertaining, something that would make the audience laugh, and we kind of went from there. And the top list concept was just something that popped into mind and then became very connected with Anton as a character, the lead, the main character Anton, who is he has very firm ideas on what life should be like and how everything should be sorted, and kind of, I guess, a boxy person in that way, and top lists made sense in that way.
Yeah.
But it came from the first line we wrote for the film was top three idiots that I hate. And then it just kind of went from there, that it felt like a fun concept.
Yeah, and then you just kept going with all the top lists.
Yeah.
But I think it's also a really fun way of telling the story, since it's a kind of, it's 45 minutes. It's a speedy story, and all the top lists make it, it's a nice way of moving through the narrative and kind of getting to know the characters and Anton, of course. Yeah, for
sure. It gives it a beat of funny and cynical, sarcastic, like all at the same time. Like the moods just keep switching around so quickly. I think it was brilliant, and well done to you both. I was wondering how you found your collaboration with each other. Like, did Simon hand over a script that was very precise? Did you feel you had a lot of creative freedom with, I don't know, the expressions or the tools you would use to animate it?
Yeah, so me and Simon, and also Jacob, who animated the film, has been working together for a long time. Is it like 10 years now, or I don't know? Time flies. Yeah.
Wow.
So and we decided we wanted to make this story, so it's together. So it's been a collaborative process. But Simon is the script writer, so he's done that part. But we have been working a lot with just talking about it a lot, and finding a way to develop the style and the characters. And since it's an animation, also how to actually animate it, since we were such a small crew that animated it. So it's been a collaborative process, but very, very fun as well. Yeah.
And the script has been a very living thing throughout the production, that given that it's animation and the very lengthy production process that we had working from 2015 to 2019, there were some scenes that we rewrote and re-recorded in 2019, sort of old darlings that were easy to kill because they had gone a long time. So we like problematic scenes that never really worked as well as they should, that we had the opportunity to remake, which was really nice. So even if we did have a shooting script, what we thought were the finished one in 2016 when we recorded all the voices, it just kept changing. But we had, when we wrote the script, we didn't really have much of an idea of how it was going to look. I guess we had a rough idea, but then we had to develop that, and I feel like the script then tagged along and developed this with the visual development as well.
I think it was, for us, good that the film took a long while to do, because you know, all the scenes and some of the like choices we made in the beginning in the end felt wrong, because the film has and the narrative had developed in a way that made us want to change it. But also that's the thing with animation, you're never done and you can always redo stuff. So it's a bit tricky if you like working with small details and stuff. But yeah, I think it was a really nice process.
It seems like you found a really coherent way of putting everything together. So what were your kind of inspirations to the way you would make it look in the end? What was the decisive point, let's say?
Like the style and the visuals.
Yeah.
So I think it's a mix between so many things. It's so hard to kind of pick like one inspiration. I think it's more a style that I and we usually work in, but also that the time we had to do it, we had to come up with different ways of making it possible to animate it. So we did lots of tests in how the characters could look to both feel human and you would feel all the emotions, but still we had the limited time to animate it. So it's been a test process, but also for myself illustrating it, it just I spent so much time doing the storyboard, like 1 year, and only doing like really fast, like black and white sketches. So when it came to illustration, I just had to use like all the colors I could find, because I was so sick of just working in black and white. So then I kind of went bananas on using lots of colors. But I think it was fun. And yeah, it's so hard to but I think inspiration has also been lots of graphical design, and since there's a lot of kind of flat visuals, and maybe the it's a bit like not reality, or like we use other colors, and maybe the environments are kind of flat and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know, it's just a process that, you know, in the end it has its own mind and like how it wants to work. But
wonderful.
Yeah.
I think one of the reasons that it's so coherent is because, like, as a producer, it was really fun when we were finishing it, and I would ask Sofie, like, are we finished? But since we worked chronologically, when we did the end, Sofie wanted to go back and redo the beginning because she had learned so much. So it was kind of a when are you done is a question you can never ask in animation, because there's no answer.
Yeah, they were furious of me because I wanted to redo lots of stuff. But I mean, what can you do? Like, I'm like, I want to add some plants here, I want to add some flowers here, but I don't know.
And how did they take it? Did they give you that freedom, you feel?
Yes, but not maybe a happy vibe all the time. Like Jacob, we animated it. In the end, it was super stressful to get it all done, and I was like, I want to add the plant here, and he's like, well, I need to animate this so it's done. So, but yeah, but I think that's very good in our team, that we're always at least trying to push it as hard as possible, and trying to let everyone do the things they want to do if it's possible. So they let me add all the small details stuff in the end, and that makes me happy, because otherwise I would like not see anything else than that small stuff. So
fantastic.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to ask also, you know, if there's a background story to the one that made it in the film, you know, if there's any specific inspiration there. And also, like, you know, there's this sense that this relationship is perfectly normal and it's never a taboo for any of the characters. Now, of course, Sweden is very well known for being super progressive in these respects, but how do you think it has been received in other places where the film has shown?
I mean,
you go, Simon.
sorry. I think in the beginning we had a lot of these almost political ideas on what we wanted to do with we had this story, and we were always a little bit afraid that someone on the financing side would come in and say, hey, but shouldn't there be a mother or a father that doesn't like the relationship, or shouldn't they have any sort of obstacles? But that never happened, luckily, because we really wanted to keep it that their sexuality should never be something that they have to overcome. It's hard enough trying to be 20 and in love with someone. You don't need extra obstacles to make that relationship work. And I think it's been received in the way that we wanted to in a lot of places, that it's someone like the radical, it's not a radical film, but that the radical thing about it is that they are so normal, and that it's not treated as a unusual or separate thing in any way, which was really what I think it's important for young kids, LGBT kids, to grow up and see themselves portrayed in a non sort of hindrance way that is just a part of everyday life.
For sure. And on that note, actually, you mentioned kids, and it's interesting because like animation is unfortunately a genre or like a mode of telling a story that sometimes is assumed to be for like children. Do you think you intended your film to be for children, or do you think it's more universal and,
Yeah, like it wasn't like we wanted to make a film for like adults and young adults, so it's not a film like, but that's something that maybe like usually we have to say when we say we made this animated film. It's not just for kids because it's something usually animation, when you say that, people think of films for kids or TV shows for kids. So I think but it's changing a lot now. I think there's more and more TV series and films for adults, and I think it's super fun that the industry is changing on that, because animation has so much quality and you really have so much possibility in animation, because you always start from a blank canvas, so you can really tell any story. So I think I think it's just becoming more and more popular.
Would you say, I mean, it's sometimes a double-edged sword how much freedom you have, how time consuming it can get before you actually finalize,
Yeah, you have to be a little bit crazy working with animation, because it's it's a non-stop, never-ending project, and you do start with nothing, like all the small details and everything you kind of decide. So but I think that's also the power of it, the possibilities, and something that makes it fun to work in animation and to tell stories in animation, because you have but you do have to have what do you say,
like a goal in mind.
Yeah, and also lots of time to make it.
I feel like it is a perfectionists and control freaks medium, in a way that you can control everything and make it the way you want to, but the thing is that you're never going to reach that. You have to have at least a small cup of good enough in your coffee every day, because you're never going to be able to reach, like you're never going to be able to finish, because the more you do, the more you learn. So the bar is higher today than yesterday.
Yeah.
And I mean, we could still be working on the first scene. In a different world, maybe we are.
But that's also like so good to be a team working. I mean, doing whatever, but like, because different people have different skills and have different perspectives, and when somebody else can say this works, or this is really nice, let's move on to the next part. So I think it's so good to work in a team. You can never do anything by yourself, then it would be totally insane to work in animation, I think.
So I noticed there was an insanely short credit roll at the end of the film, and I mean, I was so surprised, you know, like there's so much work that must have gone into it, you know, and it seems to have been accomplished by such an intimate team. Like, how did you all meet each other, and how did you cast people for the voices, the voice acting?
Yeah, so yeah, it's a small team for animation, and that's also why it took a couple of years to make it. But yeah, so we are basically a group of friends, and working with people we have been working with for a long time. And also the cast for us, since this film is set in a very small part in the north of Sweden, we wanted to have the specific voices that needed to be authentic for that place. So yeah, we did lots of casting to find those voices, but in the end we found 3 amazing actors that could do it. And then all the other voices is our sound designer that's done it. Patrick is amazing. He does all the other voices.
Wow.
So he's been working a lot on this film, but yeah, it's been a really like tight-knit team, and I think that's really nice in some parts, but sometimes it's also, you feel that a few more people would have been great as well. But yeah, do you want to add something on that, Simon?
Yeah, well, just for context, is that we run this animation studio together, me, Sofie, and Jakob, who's the animator. So we also do other projects and commissioned work. So we were already kind of working together when we started it. That's how we found each other.
Mm-hmm.
But then I think it's just ironic for how much time we spent on the voices and finding these, because in the north of Sweden, where the distances are huge, dialects can change from like village to village, and we change, like it's set in a place that we narrowed it down so much, and trying to find an actor to play the character who sounded correct took a lot of time. And then we've been showing it in so many places where people don't understand Swedish and they don't hear it anyway. So we can laugh at a line that no one else understands, which is fun. It's fun for us.
So where did that decision come from to, you know, narrow it down geographically in the script, I mean?
I mean, both me and Sofie is from the north of Sweden, and it's I mean, it's hard to give all the context, but basically it's a rural versus urban context where the north of Sweden has maybe not seen as much investment as it should have during the last 50, 60 years. Mm-hmm. And it's a part of Sweden that's kind of losing people are moving away, towns are growing smaller and smaller, and the stories that are being told is stories of moving away. So having Anton, especially as a gay character, wanting to stay there is also a little bit radical in a way. And we really wanted to make a movie where someone wanted to stick around, and not for the cliched reasons. Anton is not a hunter, he's not into fishing, he's just like a normal dude who wants to work on his iMac. So even that has this sort of little political activist idea behind it, even though in the film maybe it's not as clear or framed in that sense. But also I think it also has effects on the production, that we don't have to draw as many people or houses. It's
more
a
nature.
Well, yeah. Sofie must have been glad, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
But what you said about this political activism in the background, I think it's striking from the very first list you mentioned, because number 3 is I think it's the prime minister or something. So Yeah, I mean, that was an interesting touch, I think, for sure. And it does run a little bit more throughout.
And here I'm saying that it's subtle, and it's the first line of the film. So. Top 3 is not a subtle film. It's very clear.
Yeah, that's true. We have the top list. It's hard to hide from them.
So, okay. What were your lists of top 3 things that you did during this production? You can do a collective one, so it's not hard.
Okay.
The first thing that came to mind for me was, I mean, it's a little bit silly, but the way it's financed is that we've applied for funding from the Swedish Film Institute, and it's a long process of documents and meetings and stuff, and then one day someone gives you a call and says, yes, we're going to give you this money to make this movie. And I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but it was kind of life-changing that we went from doing commissioned work to having this chance to make something that was going to be seen by hundreds of thousands of people. So I think that's a memory that I will keep with me, even though the next day you woke up and realized, oh shit, we have so much work to do. That first evening was really cool, of just like feeling the happiness of getting to do it. Yeah.
I was first like thinking of like candy and coffee, because that was all the stuff that, you ate so much candy and fika and coffee during the process to be able to animate and illustrate it. But I would also say, like, in a more serious term, that like if that was the beginning, also the end of like actually showing the film to other people has been so amazing. It's just makes us so happy that that people receive it, and audience from all over the world can see it and can relate to the love story and the characters. And
Absolutely.
Even though it's from a small place in Sweden, it's relatable no matter where you live or how old you are or who you are. So I think that has been absolutely one of the best things, to actually see it out on its own legs, not only in the computer. So yeah, that has been amazing.
That's really beautiful. And how has the film done ever since the pandemic? I know it interrupted, a really good festival run that had been going on until that point. I don't know what happened after March. Has it been easy to connect with audiences?
I mean, in a way, it was for us. It was good that it didn't come earlier, the pandemic, because we had already sort of gotten going, and a lot of the festivals where you can only sort of try once, and if you're not getting in, then you're screwed, that are already passed. And now I think a lot of the festivals that already contacted us are finding new ways of doing sort of half online, half physical versions, or postponing a little bit. Or I've talked to one festival that instead contacted lots of schools and sports clubs to sort of, you can get links to show the videos to people in that way. So I think there's still been a lot of creativity, and you can sense that a lot of festival, it's so mind-blowing and cool that there's people out there who are so passionate about showing these films that we spent so much time making, because it's so hard to reach audiences from our offices here in Sweden. So it's been really cool to see all the creativity that has gone to it. And there is still some festivals getting in touch and wanting to show it, which is really nice. And we're hoping to be able to get it out on as many places as possible.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, it's honestly been a real pleasure talking to you about the film. Is there something in development coming up from either of you, or?
We finished also a kids TV show this spring. It's called Singing with the Super Friends, and it's for 4 and 5-year-olds. It's very silly. It's small little musical numbers for kids, and it's a really fun target audience to work with, because they're crazy and they say exactly what they mean. So you know if they like it or they hate it, because they're not gonna spare you if they don't think it's fun. So that's also been a real ride to work with that and finish it, and it's gonna premiere on Swedish TV in August. And then we're looking into what the next big project is gonna be and exploring, because we know in animation that when we decide on something, it's gonna be like the next 5-6 years of our life. So we want to be sure that it's the right step to take. So even when we have a really good idea that we're sort of jumping up and down about, we make sure to sleep on it and consider, like, is this the thing? Is this the thing we're going to move forward with?
Well, you managed to really bring a universal and very authentic story to life, I think, with Top 3. Thank you so much for sharing your film at Queer Wave, the Cyprus LGBTQ+ Film Festival, the very first.
Thank you so much.
And it was a pleasure having you today. Thank you so much to you. And thank you to the Swedish Embassy in Nicosia and the Swedish Institute for making this all possible. Have a great day, and I wish you all the best and the future ahead.
Thank you.
Thanks. Good luck with the festival.
Thank you so much.